You already know what you should be starting. Maybe it's been sitting in the back of your head for months, maybe years, and every time it surfaces, the same thought follows. Not yet, the timing isn't right. I'll get to it soon. Most of us have something like that. A dream, a project, a version of ourselves we keep promising we'll get to. But we never do. Welcome back to Frame by Frame, and today we're going to look at why starting feels so hard, and what we can actually do about it. But before we start, spoiler warnings for Seasons 1 of Frieren Beyond Journey's End, Tokyo Revengers, and Kaiju No. 8. Without further ado, let's get into it. When we are introduced to Sein in Frieren Beyond Journey's End, he seems like he has everything put together. He's a priest in a small village, likable, useful, and needed. Life isn't bad, it's actually pretty comfortable. But underneath that comfort, something is slowly eating away at him. As a child, he had a dream he shared with his friend, to adventure and explore the world. And when his friend finally invited him on a journey, Sein declined. At the time, he felt he needed to stay in the village because they needed him. But after some time, he got many opportunities to go after his friend. And every time that moment came, every time the window opened, he found an excuse. Not yet, the timing isn't right. Things are good here. But that was slowly making him miserable. His brother could see it, and Sein knew that he was running out of time. The longer he waited comfortably in the village, the further his friend went. But why? He could have gone after his friend, could have followed his dream, but he always declined. What was the reason behind that? His excuses did always make sense on the surface. My brother needs me. It's not the right moment. I'll go when things settle. Practical, logical, hard to argue with. And that's exactly what made him so convincing, even to him. It looked like patience, like he was being smart about it rather than careless. But look what's underneath those excuses. Every single one of them is about avoiding something unfamiliar, something that would require him to change. Deep down, Sein genuinely wanted things to be different. He just kept telling himself he wasn't ready yet. He was afraid of change, but he disguised that fear as patience. And think for a second. Has waiting ever actually made you feel better? Has delaying something you knew you needed to do ever made you genuinely glad you waited? Because look at what the delay did to Sein. His friend kept moving. The gap between where Sein was and where he wanted to be grew wider every single day. And the comfort he was holding on to, the thing that made staying feel safe and reasonable, slowly became the very thing eating away at him. The excuses didn't protect him. They didn't buy him time to prepare or get ready or figure things out. They just cost him time. Time he could have spent with his friend. Time he could have spent actually living the life he wanted. And sadly, a lot of us are exactly the same. When we're young, the dreams are loud, but the older you get, the quieter they become. School takes over, then work, then responsibilities. And slowly, without even noticing, the dream becomes something you'll get to after the promotion, after things settle. But that moment never comes. And that's why I think Sein resonates with so many people. He lives in a world of magic, ancient demons, and thousand-year-old elves. And yet his problem has nothing to do with any of that. He embodies something very real, the kind of person a lot of us are becoming. That's why I love him as a character, and that's probably why, if you're watching this, you see a little of yourself in him too. Paytalks Anime has a wonderful video where he goes more into detail about this topic, so if you're interested, I really recommend you check it out after this one. So, delaying doesn't protect you, it just costs you time. But Zein's story isn't the worst case. To see what happens when someone never takes that step, when the delaying never stops, we need to look at someone else entirely. In the first episode of Tokyo Revengers, we meet a 26-year-old Takemichi. His life is empty. Bad job, tiny apartment, no real friends. No relationships to hold on to. No sense that anything is going to change. And for many people, his story is very uncomfortable. Not because it's tragic, but because it's a bit simple and realistic. As a kid, he and his friend get caught up with the wrong people and ended up getting bullied. Every single day, Takemichi told himself today was the day he'd put an end to it. But every single day, he didn't. One small delay after another. And I know that standing up to bullies and going on a journey aren't the same things on the surface, but they share something important. Both require you to do something unfamiliar, something uncomfortable, something that goes against every instinct telling you to stay where it's safe. And for Takemichi, that pattern never stopped. It just grew. He never started anything, and life filled that space with everything he never chose. Not a tragedy, not a dramatic fall, just a quiet, grey emptiness. A life that happened to him rather than the one he built. And look, Takemichi isn't a bad person. He's not lazy in some obvious way. He's just someone who kept waiting, waiting for something to change on its own. But nothing did. So that's what makes him so hard to watch. Because if you're honest with yourself, you've probably been there too. Waiting for something to change on its own. Waiting for the right moment. And deep down, quietly hoping you won't end up in the same place he did. Now understand that waiting didn't make Takemichi's life empty. It filled it. Just with everything he didn't want. And that applies to us too. But Takemichi eventually changed his life. Only because he could travel back in time. He got a second chance that none of us are getting. So, if you're sitting there thinking it's already too late for you, I want you to meet someone who proves otherwise. Someone who's even older than Takemichi, and never had a time machine. But before we get to that, these videos take me a lot of hours to make, and if you're enjoying this one so far, a subscribe would mean the world to me. Thank you, now let's get back to it. The main protagonist of Kaiju number 8 is Kafka Hibino, a completely ordinary guy in his early 30s, a pretty different protagonist from the ordinary shonen one. And for the past 10 years, he's been trying to join the defense force. That has been his dream since he was a kid, and for 10 years he has failed every single entrance exam. The people around him have moved on, his childhood friend is now captain, and somewhere along the way, the world stopped expecting anything from him. And maybe, quietly, so did he. Because if we're completely honest, physically he's way past his prime. He can retake the entrance exam for the final time just because the force increased the age limit. And even when he does, he's outclassed. So, from an average person's viewpoint, he is too late. But he still tries. Every single time. He doesn't spiral. He doesn't quit. So, why does starting feel so impossible for Sein, for us, but not for him? And why does Kafka understand that most of us don't? Let's think about this together. You always have a feeling it's too late, don't you? When you were 18, it said you should have started at 15. At 25, it said you should have started at 20. And if you listen to it and wait another year, it will say the same thing about today. But Kafka understood that the best time to start was years ago. But he can't change that. He can't go back in time as Takemichi. All he can do is give it his all right now, in this moment, not when he'll feel like it. And he genuinely embodies this quote you probably heard 100 of times. But I think it's popular because it's perfect. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. For example, think about someone who wants to get fit. They've been saying it for years. And every time they think about starting, they think that if they had started 3 years ago, they'd already be in great shape. So what's the point now? But 3 years from now, if they still haven't started, they'll say the exact same thing about today. And also, in my experience, the things I regret the most are never the things I tried and failed at. They're the things I never tried at all. And that's exactly what Kafka showed us. He failed a dozen of times. He could have told himself he should be in the defense force by now. But he didn't. Instead, he stayed grounded. He studied Kaiju thoroughly while working his disposal job and alone on his computer. And with that, he slowly started catching up. Not through shortcuts, just consistent, unglamorous work. And that's what I love about Kafka. In anime, a lot of protagonists are main characters because they gain some inhuman power. For example, Okurun from Dandadan. Without his new powers, he would have been a nobody. Of course, he grows as a character throughout the show, and I know that the alien powers are what make the show so entertaining. But Kafka, even though he gets the Kaiju's powers, he gets into the defense force entirely on his own. No inhuman abilities, no plot armor. Just a 30-year-old man who refused to let the timeline be the verdict. So, the best time was years ago, but you can't go back, so the second best time is now. But if you're thinking where do I even begin, the answer is more than anything. You don't need a plan, you just need the smallest possible step. If you want to start working out, don't think about the gym routine or the diet. Just do 10 push-ups every day. That's it. And then the next week, maybe 11. The start doesn't have to be impressive, it just has to exist. For example, we can take a look at this channel. When I started, I had no idea what I was doing. The editing, the scripting, the thumbnails, everything felt so overwhelming. And to be completely honest with you, I want to start the channel months before I did. But I just kept telling myself I'd start when I figured things out, when I felt ready. But I never felt ready. So I just took the smallest step I could find. I downloaded an editing software and made a weird edit. That was it. That was my 10 push-ups. And if you go back and watch my first videos, they are bad. Really bad. And even now, my videos aren't what I want them to be. But I started, and slowly I think I'm improving. Or at least I hope so. So if we jump back to Sein, we can see the same thing. He didn't have it figured out when he finally left. He didn't have a plan. He didn't know exactly what was waiting for him. He just took the first step. And while researching this video, I looked for some tips to make the first step easier for you. But I genuinely couldn't find any worth mentioning. Believe me, if I had, I'd told you. But that's what starting is really about. There isn't some hidden inside info that makes it suddenly easier. Sometimes it's just moving before you feel ready, because that feeling never comes on its own. We've seen what waiting does, what fear dressed as patience costs you, and we've seen that the too late feeling is just a cycle that never breaks on its own. So if there's something you've been putting off, and there probably is, the question isn't whether the timing is right. It never will be. The question is how much longer are you going to wait? Because sadly, unlike Takemichi, we don't get a second chance. We have one life, one timeline, and it's moving whether we're ready or not. So, future you is either going to be grateful you started today, or angry you didn't. And that makes it pretty simple. Just start now. I really appreciate you watching this far, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you have, a simple subscribe would really make my day. So, YouTube and I think that you'll enjoy this video next. See you in the next one, goodbye.